Well, folks, he did it again. Against all odds, predictions, and perhaps even the expectations of his own party, Donald Trump has clinched the presidency once more. Donald J. Trump, defying the odds, the polls, and maybe even basic common sense, has returned to the White House. His campaign was a whirlwind of rallies, social media blitzes, and controversial statements, but it worked. It was a nail-biter of an election, one for the history books, or perhaps more accurately, one for the burn pile. The tension was palpable, with every vote count update sending shockwaves across the nation. But love him or loathe him, and let's be honest, it's mostly loathe him. The man knows how to win an election. His ability to galvanize his base and dominate the media narrative is unparalleled. This victory, however, feels different. There's a darkness, a sense of foreboding, hanging over this second term. The atmosphere is charged with uncertainty and unease. Maybe it's the lingering memory of January 6th, or maybe it's the ever so slight feeling that this time, the guardrails of democracy might not hold. The events of that day are still fresh in the minds of many. Whatever it is, it's enough to make even the most optimistic American reach for the antacids. The nation's collective anxiety is at an all-time high, with many wondering what the future holds. And what does Trump have planned for his grand return? The details are still emerging, but early indications suggest a bold and aggressive agenda, or just a casual restructuring of the entire government, aiming to consolidate power and streamline operations in ways that have never been seen before. A few controversial appointments that would make your hair stand on end, with figures known for their polarizing views and unorthodox approaches, and a healthcare plan that seems to involve mostly hoping for the best. Critics argue that it lacks substance and could leave many without essential services. Buckle up, America, it's going to be a bumpy ride. The next 4 years promise to be anything but predictable, with twists and turns that will keep everyone on edge. Trump, never one for subtlety, has made it clear that he intends to remake the government in his image. Think of it as Extreme Makeover Bureaucracy Edition, but instead of tasteful throw pillows, it's just stacks of executive orders and a healthy dose of chaos. His plan, if you can call it that, involves slashing regulations, shrinking the federal government, and appointing people with, shall we say, unconventional views to key positions. The goal, according to Trump, is to drain the swamp and unleash American greatness. Of course, what that actually means in practice is anyone's guess. But if his first term was any indication, we can expect a lot of tweeting, a lot of lawsuits, and a whole lot of head-scratching from anyone who tries to make sense of it all. One of the most eyebrow-raising appointments in recent history is that of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., noted vaccine skeptic and heir to a political dynasty, as the head of, wait for it, public health. Yes, you heard that right. The man who has been a vocal critic of vaccines, claiming they cause autism despite overwhelming scientific evidence to the contrary, is now in charge of protecting the nation's health. This decision has left many people stunned and questioning the future of public health in the country. The man who thinks vaccines cause autism despite all evidence to the contrary is now in charge of protecting the nation's health. What could possibly go wrong? Critics argue that this appointment is a disaster waiting to happen. They fear that his controversial views could undermine public trust in vaccines and other essential health measures. Now, in the spirit of fairness, Kennedy does have some supporters who believe he'll bring a fresh perspective to public health. They point to his environmental activism and his criticism of Big Pharma as evidence that he's not afraid to challenge the status quo. His supporters argue that his willingness to question established norms could lead to positive changes and greater accountability within the public health system. But let's be real, folks. Putting someone who distrusts basic science in charge of public health is like putting a fox in charge of the hen house. The potential for conflict and chaos is enormous. It's only a matter of time before things get messy. The stakes are high, and the future of public health hangs in the balance as we watch this unprecedented appointment unfold. Needless to say, the medical community is freaking out, and who can blame them? Kennedy's appointment is a giant middle finger to science, reason, and the very concept of public health. Doctors and scientists are warning of a potential resurgence of preventable diseases like measles and polio if vaccination rates drop. And let's not forget about the very real danger of misinformation spreading like wildfire in the age of social media. The bottom line is this: public health should be based on evidence, not ideology. And appointing someone who has repeatedly peddled dangerous conspiracy theories is not just irresponsible, it's downright dangerous. But hey, at least we'll have someone in charge who can tell us all about the dangers of 5G and chemtrails, right? Section 5. The technocrat-in-chief, Elon Musk's role in Trump's America. If you thought RFK Jr. was an odd choice, wait till you hear about Trump's pick for, well, we're not quite sure what his official title is, but let's just call him Minister of Disruption. That's right, folks, it's none other than Elon Musk, tech mogul, meme lord, and occasional real-life supervillain. Now, Musk is undoubtedly a brilliant engineer and entrepreneur. He's revolutionized the electric car industry, launched rockets into space, and even figured out how to make flamethrowers cool again. But is he qualified to run, well, anything in the government? That's a question for the ages. Section 6. Too much power? Musk's downsizing plans and potential conflicts. Musk's main task, as far as we can tell, is to bring his Silicon Valley swagger to the federal government. His vision is to streamline operations, cut through bureaucratic red tape, and infuse a startup culture into the heart of the nation's administration. That means automating everything, cutting red tape, and generally trying to run the country like a tech startup. Imagine a government where processes are as efficient as a well-oiled machine, where innovation is the norm, and where technology drives every decision. On the surface, that might not sound like a bad thing. The idea of a more streamlined, efficient government is appealing to many. After all, who wouldn't want a more efficient and innovative government? A government that can adapt quickly to new challenges and leverage cutting-edge technology to improve public services sounds ideal. But there are concerns, of course. Not everyone is convinced that this tech-driven approach will address the complex needs of the populace. Critics worry that Musk's focus on technology will come at the expense of human needs. They argue that an over-reliance on automation could lead to job losses and a lack of personal touch in essential services. They point to his history of labor disputes and his sometimes questionable treatment of his employees as evidence that he's not exactly a champion of the working class. These critics fear that his approach could exacerbate existing inequalities. And then there's the whole conflict of interest thing. The potential for Musk to prioritize his business interests over public good is a significant concern. You know, the fact that he runs multiple companies that rely heavily on government contracts and regulations. This intertwining of business and government raises questions about transparency and accountability in his proposed reforms. Section 7. Obamacare on the chopping block, Mike Johnson's healthcare overhaul. And then there's healthcare. Remember healthcare, that thing that everyone needs but no one seems to agree on how to provide. Well, Trump's got a plan for that, too. Or rather, House Speaker Mike Johnson, Trump's trusted ally, has a plan. And that plan, in a nutshell, is to get rid of Obamacare. And, well, that's about it. The details are still fuzzy. But Johnson has hinted at a system that relies more on the free market and less on government intervention. Think health savings accounts, deregulation, and a whole lot of hoping that everything works out. Because what could go wrong with letting the free market decide who gets healthcare and who doesn't? Section 8. Can he do it? The feasibility of Trump's radical agenda. So there you have it, Trump's vision for America, a leaner, meaner, and arguably more chaotic government, run by a ragtag bunch of tech billionaires, vaccine skeptics, and free market evangelists. What could possibly go wrong? The real question, of course, is whether any of this is even possible. Trump may have won the election, but he still faces a divided Congress, a skeptical judiciary, and a public that's more polarized than ever. And let's not forget about the small matter of the Constitution, which, last time we checked, still puts some limits on presidential power. Section 9. A nation-divided public opinion on Trump's second term. Unsurprisingly, Trump's return has been met with a mixture of elation and despair. His supporters see him as a savior, a strongman who will finally make America great again. His detractors, on the other hand, see him as a threat to democracy, a demagogue who will stop at nothing to consolidate his power. The truth, as always, is probably somewhere in between, but one thing is for sure. America is more divided than ever, and Trump's second term is only going to exacerbate those divisions. Buckle up, folks. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Section 10, the global stage, how the world reacts to Trump's return. Trump's victory has sent shockwaves across the globe. Allies are nervous, adversaries are emboldened, and everyone is wondering what the heck happened to America. The world is watching, holding its breath, waiting to see what Trump will do next. One thing is for sure, Trump's America First agenda is back with a vengeance. Expect more tariffs, more isolationism, and more unpredictable foreign policy decisions. The world is a dangerous place, and with Trump back at the helm, it just got a whole lot more unpredictable. Section 11, the legacy of Trump's second act, a look into the future. It's too early to say what the long-term consequences of Trump's second term will be. But one thing is for sure, America, and indeed the world, will never be the same. The guardrails of democracy have been tested, and while they may have held this time, who knows what the future holds? Will Trump's radical agenda succeed? Will America descend into chaos and authoritarianism? Or will the system somehow right itself? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure, the next 4 years are going to be unlike anything we've ever seen before.